By 1872, William Frederick Cody, better known by his stage name Buffalo Bill, had lived what one might call an eventful life. He had delivered messages via the Pony Express, served in the Civil War, massacred indigenous peoples, and killed 14,000 buffalo. You know, good 19th century fun. He was what many called the last great frontierman, and according to Mark Twain, who was a big fan, was the most famous man in America. But it was only after author Edward Judson proposed an idea to him that he would finally find his true calling, this being performing. And that idea? Well, that idea was a show like no other. It would feature parades, performances by foreign armies, shooting tricks, buffalo hunts led by Cody, staged robberies, and, most popularly, historically accurate battles. By the late 1880s, the show cast numbered around 800, including cowboys from Argentina, buffaloes that were trained to fall over, and of course, real Native Americans. According to Cody himself, some of these indigenous had actually fought in the battles that they were reenacting. Casting the Native Americans as the malicious enemies, though, did enhance some of the stereotypes of the day, these including scalping and the indication that they were wrong to defend their land. So, one might conclude that Cody was exploiting his indigenous cast. However, recent studies show that Cody thought of himself as an activist, and there's no reason we couldn't believe him. He treated his Native American cast equally, even paying them the same amount as his other stars, and often encouraged them to celebrate their customs and cultures, going as far as to take days off of the performing for their sacred holidays. He also was an avid spokesperson for the women's suffrage movement, and paid all of his female employees the same as the men. By 1887, he had also added the Rough Riders of the World exhibit, and that was made up of Spanish vaqueros and cowboys from Cuba, the Philippines, Africa, and Russia. So it really was an ethnically diverse cast. An interesting side note on Cody is that one could say that he also invented the idea of hiring celebrities to grab the crowds. These big-name hires included the likes of Sitting Bull, Iron Tail, and Aglola Lakota, the A-listers. In 1987, Cody arranged for his biggest performance yet. He was to sail to England with his entire cast and perform for the Queen. 2 months later, it debuted to rave reviews. The London Times said, "It is new, it is brilliant, it will go." Cody dedicated the show to Queen Victoria, who he called Grandmother England. In fact, the Queen was so impressed by the performance that she insisted on meeting the cast afterwards. One of the performers, Black Elk, would remember the day fondly, saying, "After Grandmother shook my hands and was kind to me, I thought maybe if she had been our grandmother, it would have ended differently for our people." The show, however, began to run out of steam around 1910. A new kind of entertainment had taken the place of circuses, this being film. Also, many of the cast members were now old and could no longer perform their dangerous stunts. Finally, in 1913, Buffalo Bill's Wild West show went bankrupt. Buffalo Bill committed the rest of his life to women's rights and civil rights, and he died in 1917 as a conundrum. He was a spokesperson of the indigenous peoples, but he had also contributed to their downfall. His show was a sanctuary for wild buffalo, but when he was young, he had killed thousands of them. Conundrum or not, though, there was one thing that nobody debated. Buffalo Bill Cody died happy, and he died the most famous man in the world.